Welcome, everybody, to Change Your Beliefs, Change Your Life. It's going to be a very exciting night. Hopefully, it's going to be a lot of fun. Hey, Casmar, nice to see you. Good evening to you. I hope you're doing well. Happy Leo new moon. If you're catching this live, happy new moon in Leo. But this presentation is evergreen, so even if it's not the new moon in Leo, this is going to be helpful to you no matter when you see it. And we're going to go through everything. But first, welcome to my channel if you're new here, and welcome back if you're returning. I'm Joshua the Psychic. You can check out my website, psychicsun.com, if there's anything I can do for you. So, your mind is the universe. So we're going to talk about some theory before we get started on how you can implement this for your new moon intentions or your intentions at any point. So every thought is energy. And that's why you want to make sure that you're thinking the thoughts that feel good. And your mind is a frequency tuner. So for instance, if you're focusing on things that feel good, you're going to be changing your vibration. You're going to be changing the emotions that you feel, because every thought has with it some kind of emotional charge. Maybe it could be neutral, but most oftentimes, if you're thinking, oh, I might have a really good time at this party tomorrow night, well, your energy is going to feel better, right? Your emotions are going to be more positive. So whatever you focus on, you're essentially tuning your vibration to that thought, therefore the emotion that accompanies that thought. And your emotions are creational forces. So the reason why life is an emotional game is because the energy that we project is really based on our emotions. So when you're visualizing what you want to do, when you're visualizing the way you want things to be, you want to get as emotional as possible, because that is going to create a stronger broadcast of that emotion, and it's going to get instilled in your subconscious. So remember, your emotions are really key. So if you're ever not feeling good emotionally, you want to make sure you're nipping that in the bud as soon as possible, because that's your indicator of what you're manifesting. There are two things that will tell you what you're manifesting: what you actually have manifested, what you have in front of you, and also how you feel. And your outer world mirrors your inner world. So everything is an internal game. You essentially want to see yourself as changing, not the universe, because you are the universe, right? Your mind is the universe. So you want to make sure that your internal landscape is as pristine and perfect and as feel good as possible, because invariably that's what you're going to get. You could look at the new moon as an opportunity. You have a tabula rasa, you have a blank slate, and you could look at that new moon as, okay, well, what do I want to put in that sphere, in that energy? So by the time we have our full moon in 2 weeks, you're going to start to see the manifestations. But also, of course, in February of 2026, when we have the accompanying full moon in Leo that aligns with this new moon in Leo. So you want to think about that. Think about, you're putting energy into a spot, and then that spot is going to be filled, right? What are you putting in? You're putting in your thoughts, you're putting in your emotions. So you want to make sure that you're feeling as good as possible about what you want to manifest and expecting it to happen, because when you're expecting something, you're allowing it. You're allowing it to happen. You don't want to get too specific, because the universe might know what's better for you. Like you don't want to be like, I want this particular job. You don't know what that job might entail. Or I want this particular house. You don't know about that house or that person, right? So you want to be general in a certain way, so you're not putting yourself in a compromising position, because you don't know what you don't know. But you want to essentially make sure that you're feeling as if it's already happened and calibrating yourself, your aura, your energy to it having already occurred, so you're a vibrational match to it. And we're going to get further into what that means and what that looks like. So you attract what you are. You don't attract what you want. You attract what you are, meaning what you're a vibrational match to. So your beliefs are what creates your emotional baseline. So a belief is just a thought that you keep thinking. And if you have thought a particular thought for quite some time, or different thoughts, right? So you've thought different thoughts for quite some time, that's created your emotional baseline. And it's important to remember that you can always raise that emotional baseline so you're feeling better and better. Oftentimes the question is, how good can you actually feel, right? Because the better you feel, the better your life is going to be. So you don't want to wait for your manifestation to occur, because that could be a fool's errand, right? You want to start being happy and experiencing the emotions you would feel if you had what you wanted now. And your emotions are everything. Emotion is energy in motion. So you want to see yourself as this vibrational field that will attract to you whatever it is that you're broadcasting emotionally. Because you don't attract what you want, you attract what you believe is true. And there's many different ways that you can train your subconscious. There's robotic affirmations that you could just say over and over again. You could visualize. You could light candles to align with your intentions, etc. But you want to make sure that you're believing it's possible. It's like that old quote: if you believe you can do it or you believe you can't, either way, you're right. So beliefs are like furniture. Some beliefs are beautiful and they're supportive, right? Other beliefs might be outdated. Maybe you inherited some beliefs, or maybe they're in the way and they just don't belong there anymore. Sometimes you can actually recognize that your parents have passed on to you beliefs that don't serve you. In fact, in astrology, you can actually look at the 12th house of the astrological chart, because that will suggest what your mother was experiencing when you were in her belly. And whatever beliefs that she had, you were also taking them on, right? Like if a mother is pregnant with a child and she smokes a cigarette, she shares that cigarette with the child. If the mother is thinking certain things or going through trauma or anger or feelings that are negative, the child is also experiencing that. Further, up until you're like 7 years old, you're like really, really porous, really, really open. So you're taking in all the energy that's around you. So essentially, we're inheriting our parents' beliefs, whether we want to or not. So we're going to have to, in order to bypass that and not live by their beliefs, we're going to have to suss out what beliefs that we have, that we inherited, that are no longer relevant, right? Because otherwise, we're just going to continue the paradigm. We're going to continue their beliefs, right? And we want a better life than our ancestors. Clearing your mind is like rearranging a room. You can look at it that way, right? Moving this and saying, I want this here and that here, because you get to decide what stays and what goes. You're not beholden to anything that you don't want to be beholden to. So this concept is not mine. This is from Jane Roberts' Seth in the 70s and 80s. Jane Roberts channeled this entity by the name of Seth and wrote a whole bunch of books that were channeled by Jane Roberts using Seth. And one of the things Seth said was, you can stub your toe as easily on a misplaced idea as you can upon an old chair. It will help you, in fact, if you think of your own beliefs as furniture that can be rearranged, changed, renewed, completely discarded, or replaced. Your ideas are yours. They should not control you. It is up to you to accept those that you choose to accept. And I would definitely, if you're interested in any Seth material, you can go online. There's a lot of books. You can just type in Jane Roberts on Amazon if you're interested in any of the books. They're pretty heavy, pretty intense. You can also get them via Audible, and that might be helpful if you're interested in any of her concepts. So you get to change your beliefs like you would furniture, and that visual is going to help you to believe that you can change your beliefs, which is going to help you, obviously, to change your beliefs. So what you want to do to suss out what beliefs you may have. If you feel bad about a topic, ask yourself, well, what would you have to believe in order to feel that way? If you're feeling bad about something, there's obviously a belief that you have that is making you feel that way. So that will help you to suss out what beliefs need to go that are no longer serving you. So there are 5 steps to changing beliefs. First, spot it. If you're feeling bad about something, ask yourself, okay, well, what must I believe in order to feel this way? So you want to name the limiting belief. If, for instance, you want something really badly, but you don't think it's going to happen, don't do anything but try to change that belief, because unless you change that belief, it's going to be really tough for you to allow to come in what it is that you want to come in. So question the belief. Once you find it, is it true? Is the belief true? Is it yours, or did you inherit the belief from somebody else? Did somebody tell you this idea and you've adopted it as your own? Number 3, replace it. Choose a new belief, right? And then you have to feel it. You got to remember that the emotions activate your frequency. Everything's an emotional game, really. So you want to feel that belief. I think because of the new moon in Leo, and also why Leo might be tied to magic, is because they are dramatic. A lot of people, when they do, warlocks and witches and whatnot, they'll run around in circles and they'll light fires, and it's very dramatic. Why is it dramatic? So it sticks, right? So you want to activate that frequency. You want to dramatize it, sell it, right? What is the new emotion? What is the new belief? Hey, sunflowers, great to see you. Happy new moon in Leo. So you want to feel that emotion. You want to really dramatize it, right? And then you got to live it. Like, what would somebody who believes that do? How would they act? How would they carry themselves? What would they think? So you want to align with action. Action is the energy that gets things actually going. That's what's going to help you to manifest. But you want to take action from that new belief that is supportive and empowering to you. So why now? Why the Leo new moon? Again, this video is evergreen. You can always look at it to help you change your beliefs. However, tonight, if you're catching this live, we have the new moon in Leo. And new moons, really, at the end of the day, if you're smart, you're not going to be trying to attract new things so much as trying to adopt new beliefs that serve you. Because as we said, you get what you believe you are a match to, not what you want, right? So if you have a wish list of several things that you want, or 9 things that you want, I would do up to 9, not more than 9 for every new moon. You want to go through your list. Okay, well, what do you need to believe in order to have that happen? You have to believe it's possible, right? So it's the Leo moon. It's all about joy, self-expression, and creativity. And our purpose is joy. What do I mean by frequencies? That is a very, very good question. So what do I mean by frequencies? So the feelings that are attached to the belief, right? Like say you're tuning your radio, say to Kiss 108, right? Kiss 108. So that is a particular frequency, right? So you want to make sure that you're feeling the way you would feel that's aligned with that belief, right? Is it the same frequency? Is it the same vibration? Does it feel the same, right? For instance, say you get to go on this really, really amazing hot date that you're really excited about. The frequency of that possibility, that hot date, is excitement, right? It's feeling really, really alive and really prepared for pleasure, right? So are you in that frequency? Are you in that vibration? So I would say frequency and vibration are similar. Boston State. Yes, it is a Boston station. That was the last time I listened to the radio, was when I lived in Boston. So yeah, I hope that helps. I'll try to make it more clear as we go on. So you want to really tap into this energy of Leo, right? Joy, self-expression, and creativity. And 3, you want to reclaim, yes, exactly, how you feel. Yeah, exactly. The vibes. Reclaim your authentic, playful self, right? Like, how can you allow yourself to tap into that inner child, right? Leo is all about play and joy and self-expression. So you want to really allow yourself to regain that time back, right? You could conceivably feel younger today at the age you are now than you had at 14. Maybe you were deprived of a normal childhood. Maybe you had a lot of responsibility. Maybe you were worried about your parents when you were growing up. All these different things, right? But you get to reclaim that. And this is your Leo new moon. So anytime that you feel you were robbed, this is your time to say, you know what? I'm going to get that time back. Because it's time to shine. The Leo new moon wants you to shine. And that's by being authentic. That's by being yourself. So we're going to go sign by sign. As we spoke about last week, every sign is aligned with wherever the moon is, right? So for this Leo new moon, it's lighting up a different area of everyone's chart, right? So similar to taroscopes, we're going to be talking about where the Leo moon is going to be hitting in your chart or where it's hitting in your chart. And we're going to be talking about a possible belief that you may have or a typical negative belief that somebody may have in regard to that theme, that house placement. Then we're going to talk about how you can install a new one aligned with joy. And then we're going to encourage you to affirm it, to feel that new belief and embody it, imbue it, right? So we're going to start with Aries. So Aries, the Leo new moon hits your 5th house. Now, the 5th house is a great house. It's the house that Leo is naturally ruled by. It's about joy and play and romance and self-expression and your creativity. It's about having fun and doing things that really light you up with joy. So you may have a limiting belief. If I enjoy myself, something bad is going to happen. You might be holding back your joy, waiting for the proverbial other shoe to drop, right? Or let's not get too happy. Let's not get too excited. Or it might be a matter of there was an experience or a series of experiences in which you experienced pleasure and it resulted in pain. And now you might be afraid of experiencing pleasure, right? So an empowering belief that you want to instill instead is joy is my creative fuel. Pleasure is safe and sacred. You could say that to yourself, right? Or you could start believing it. And then you could affirm it's safe to shine and share what lights me up. It's safe to be happy. It's safe to be joyful, right? Other issues with the 5th house, it might be a matter of, oh yeah, there's nobody that's for me romantically. I can't find somebody that I want. I can't find a good lover. I'll never be able to find a good lover. That's a 5th house thing. And you'd want to change that. There's plenty of people that would love me, right? There's plenty of people I'm attracted to, etc., etc., etc. If it's artistic, oh, geez, I can't draw a straight line with a ruler. Well, that's a limiting belief, especially if you have an inclination to draw or paint. So you would instill a better belief. I'm a budding artist. I'm getting better at drawing every day, whatever it may be. So for Taurus, this Leo new moon is hitting your 4th house. So it's all about your emotional security. What makes you feel tucked in and yummy inside? What makes you feel at home within the self? Makes you feel safe and unconditionally loved and unconditionally supported. A limiting belief you may have, I need to stay small to feel safe. I had one client one time say to me, she said, I'm afraid to be too much. And I thought it was so interesting. And then I realized that I have a lot of clients that are afraid to be too much. Well, it's the Leo new moon, and I'd say be too much. It's better to be too much or not enough. It's like having a barbecue or a banquet or like a dinner. You'd rather to have a surplus of food, right, than not enough, right? So a limiting belief may be I need to stay small in order to feel safe. Now, an empowering belief to counteract that may be my inner security travels with me. So whenever you are feeling as if you need to do something in order to feel safe, remember your security, it stems from you. It's not your external environment, right? It's all about you. And the more secure you feel internally, the more you're just going to align with those environments that also make you feel secure. So it's not a matter of, oh, I'm in this position and I'm feeling insecure. Well, yeah, that might be true, but really you were feeling insecure and that's why you got in that position. It was a vibrational match. So the more you can feel secure and at home within the self, the more you're going to just wind up in environments in which you are feeling secure and you are being supported. You could affirm, I am at home in myself wherever I go. And you don't need to necessarily be small in order to feel that way, right? Because you're in this position telling yourself a story that I need to do this in order to get that. But really, at the end of the day, if you feel at home within the self, you're going to feel at home wherever you go. And that's not about dimming your light. It's about shining authentically. So for Gemini, the Leo new moon is hitting your third house. This is the house that your sign is aligned with, Gemini. A limiting belief for the third house. The third house has a lot going for it, right? The third house has to do with your communications, your mindset, how you speak, what you write, learning, siblings, short distance travels. But at the end of the day, it has to do with your mindset and it has to do with your communications. So a limiting belief you may have, Gemini, is I'm not qualified to speak or be heard. When really, you could create a new belief that says my voice is valuable and worth sharing. And then you could affirm, I express myself clearly and confidently. You could say that over and over again and practice that. Other issues with like the third house, it might be a matter of I can't write. I'm not a good writer. I'm not a good public speaker. I'm scared to death at public speaking. Well, yeah, you don't want to say that because then it's going to become an apparency. Or I'm so stupid. You don't want to say that because then you're going to start being stupid, right? I would say also with the third house, you know, little things like, oh, I'm probably going to be stuck in traffic if I go here. Or, you know, my sister is X, Y, B, and C. You don't want to say things that you don't want to be true, right? You want to always leave that door open for people to change and to pleasantly surprise you. But because you're so secure in yourself, what they do or whatever situation you might find yourself in, well, it's irrelevant, right? Because you're at home within the self, you're nurturing the self, you're caring for the self. But I express myself clearly and confidently would probably be the best affirmation for that third house, Gemini. So for you, Cancer, you have the Leo new moon in your second house. And the second house has to do with money. It has to do with your self-worth. It has to do with your talents. So a limiting belief might be, I have to prove my worth in order to receive. These are the people that work like 12 hours a day. They never give themselves a vacation. They believe that not getting any sleep and working the midnight oil is like a badge of honor, right? We've seen these people. I think this was more relevant probably about 10 or 20 years ago. And now we're realizing like holistically the mind-body connection, how balance helps things. But sometimes we might still have that belief that I have to prove my worth in order to receive, when really, theoretically, it's just about allowing yourself to flow and share your natural gifts and talents. So an empowering belief you might want to adopt is, my value is intrinsic and unshakable. And you could affirm, I am worthy of abundance and ease. So some people believe they have to suffer in order to earn a good living. And because they believe that, it becomes an apparency, meaning they do suffer and therefore they earn a good living. But what if they change that belief to, I just need to share my gifts and I'll have plenty of money. I just need to share myself with the world and I will be financially abundant, as opposed to the subconscious belief, well, I have to kill myself in order to get this done or do a good job or prove my worth, right? So I feel like as we're evolving, there's no real benefit to wearing yourself out because it's almost like posturing. Because at the end of the day, the more relaxed you are and the more playful you are, the easier it's going to be for you to channel energy from the universe. And then it will just flow through you as opposed to you white knuckling it and feeling you have to do it with your body. It really should just flow through you. Hey, Marlo, nice to see you. Happy Friday Eve indeed. So you want to just make sure that you have very, very strong second house beliefs, even in terms of money. This is a huge one for so many people. Money flows easily and effortlessly to me is a nice affirmation. There are some people who believe money is hard to come by. Okay, well, if you believe money is hard to come by, then it's going to be hard to come by when it really isn't. I mean, money is constantly flowing, right? It's everywhere. It moves very, very, very quickly. And you certainly never want to worry about money because that stops its flow. The word affluence comes from the French affleur, which is to flow. So the more you're in flow with your own energy, you're more going to be in tune with the energy, the vibration of abundance. So you don't have to wear yourself out, Cancer, essentially, in order to make plenty of money. So Leo, this new moon is yours. It's your first house. So it's all about you and your identity. And this is really a big deal. You know, you want to think about where you want to be in early 2026, January, February. Where do you want to be in your life? How do you want to feel? How do you want to show up? A limiting belief you may have that pertains to your first house cycle that you're going through is if I show my true self, I won't be loved. So you might feel that you have to hide behind a different persona, or you have to hide your light under a bushel, so to speak, right? Now, Leos typically don't feel this way. However, some might. Those Leos who may feel this way, we call them a Leo with a thorn in its paw. Those are the Leos that most likely are early degree Leos, meaning they're not as rambunctious or as arrogant, quite frankly, as the other Leos. These are July Leos usually. And that means that essentially, or often it's because the new moon before their birthday was actually in the sign of Cancer. So if you have a Leo who had the new moon before their birthday was in Leo, they're going to be very, very Leo. But if you had a Leo whose new moon before their birth was in Cancer, they're going to be more Cancerian. There's going to be a toned down aspect to that fire. But instead of feeling like if you show your true self, you won't be loved, you want to say instead, or believe instead, my authentic self is magnetic. And you could affirm, when I'm fully me, I attract what's meant for me, right? Because you're giving it. Leos are very, very generous. So no matter what, you want to really allow yourself to be generous in sharing who you are. I would say diplomacy is important because there are some Leos that they may have what is similar to Tourette's syndrome, although it's not actually Tourette's, meaning they say things without realizing that it could actually be detrimental to whoever they're saying it to. They sometimes lack a sensitivity chip, some Leos, right? So you want to honor those people that are around you, but you also want to be authentic. And if you have something authentically negative that you need to get out, well, make sure you're doing it in a way that won't offend somebody else. I mean, you could offend somebody else if you wanted to, but that's probably drama that you don't want, right? So you want to be as authentic as possible, but you also want to make sure that you're being loving and respectful and kind to other people, because karmically, if you're not, it's going to come right back to you. And then you're going to be like, oh, why is this person so mean to me? Well, because you've been mean to other people, essentially. But when you're fully you, you'll attract what's meant for you, right? So be generous with who you really are. So Virgo, you have this new moon in your 12th house. So we're in Leo season. The next season is going to be your sign. So you're getting ready for your birthday. And with the 12th house transit, you're processing everything that's happened over the past 12 months. Like what went on? How have you grown? What are you leaving behind? What are you ending? And the 12th house, it's all about your paradigms. It's about your subconscious. It's about your your hidden beliefs, really, and your psychology. So you may believe, unfortunately, I'm too damaged. I'm too late to change. Yeah, I'm too messed up. There's no way I'm going to be able to like change that. And really, you want to believe instead that your healing is sacred and ongoing. You could affirm, I release the past and trust my soul's timing. So you always want to think that your timing is impeccable because there's nothing you can really do about it. And if you had been ready before to do something, well, then you would have done it, right? So with the 12th house transit for you, Virgo, I would say also that you want to start believing that it's easy for you to change, that it's easy for you to create new stories. Because before you even create a new story, you got to believe that it's possible for you to create a new story, right? A new timeline, right? So whatever it is that you feel is limiting you, with that 12th house, you can really first allow yourself to know that you can change, you can evolve, you can grow, and you can heal. So Libra, this new moon is in your 11th house. That's going to be a fun transit for you. Very, very social. 11th house has to do with your hopes, your dreams, your wishes, your ideals, your friends, like-minded people, your community, your tribe. And Libra is typically, oftentimes, a people pleaser. I mean, theoretically, Aries is the star and Libra marries the star, right? Libra is typically, and we're talking archetypic Libra, you got to look at the whole chart, but archetypic Libra is much more comfortable being that supporting character role, right? And they can be very adaptable. I will say, out of all the signs, they say, oh, he'll never change. A Libra will change. A Libra will change for the right partner. If they are in love, they will change. Whereas a lot of other signs, that ship has sailed, they're not going to. But when it comes to your groups, Libra, you might believe that you have to shrink in order to fit in. I don't want to make this person feel uncomfortable. Well, if you make that person feel uncomfortable, they were uncomfortable before you even got there, right? So that's not your job. Your job is to focus on the energy that you're flowing and to just be you. And to enjoy yourself and to be your most authentic self. And if you have to shrink in order to get along with your crowd, you need a new crowd, right? Because the true friends that you have never want you to not be more than your best, brightest self, right? So an empowering belief may be, the more I am me, the more aligned my community becomes, right? And you want to be yourself, so you're attracting more people who are like you. If you're putting on airs and graces, right, you may be attracting people who are also putting on airs and graces. And it's stupid because nobody is being authentic. Therefore, nobody has true connection, right? So you might want to think about how you might be able to show up more authentically in your friend group. You could affirm, I attract people who love me as I am. So you don't have to be anybody else. You just got to be you. And I also would say with the 11th house, any limiting beliefs, oh, it's hard to make friends. Well, don't think that, right? Or, oh, I really want to do this, since the 11th house has to do with hopes and dreams. I really want to do this, but it's probably not going to happen. Don't say that, because unfortunately, Libra, you don't have a whole bunch of people that are saying, oh, yeah, you can do it. It has to start with you. If you're fortunate enough and you're very likable, so it is possible, you may have friends that actually believe more in you than you believe in yourself. And that's great. That's a really good sign. But you always want to make sure that you are a good friend to yourself. And it's good to even check in with yourself. Am I being a good friend to myself? Because then you're going to attract other friends, right, outside of you. So happy new moon. So Scorpio. This new moon in Leo is hitting your 10th. So it's all about your status, your position, your honors, the career that you have, what you're known for, how the world sees you. Now, what's very interesting, I've noticed with a lot of Scorpios, it's so ironic. Even though they are fearless, they are determined, they often have fears of failure. Meaning, they may not leave a job that gives them stability, even though they'd be happier someplace else. Believe it or not, they might not leave a relationship because they are afraid that they might not find somebody else, right? So there is, even though Scorpio is extremely driven and tenacious and strong and determined, they are also a fixed sign, meaning they like continuity, they like stability, they like security. So I would say with the 10th house in particular, it's important for Scorpio to assess the risk and determine what they want to be true. For instance, you may have a Scorpio that says, well, if I leave this job, I'm not going to work again for, the next 6 years. They might fear that. If I leave this job, I'm not going to get another one. Okay, well, you can balance it and you can say, okay, well, why don't I find another job before I leave this job? But if that's not possible, you've got to believe that you're going to get a better job. You've got to believe that there's a better career trajectory for you outside of this. So they sometimes believe if I aim too high, I'll fall too hard. Doesn't mean that they can't be successful. I mean, they could do this and still be successful, but oftentimes Scorpio will have in the back of their mind, oh, I'd love to do this, but I don't think it's going to work. Or I'd love to do this, but it's too much of a risk. Now, what's going to be key for you is to be more of a leader, to take the energy off of yourself and to focus on how it could be of benefit to other people. Well, hey, if I go out on a limb and I take this risk and I'm successful, I'm going to inspire and empower other people to also go beyond their stretch. So you could start believing I can lead with vision and succeed with integrity. And that's a really big part, like integrity. Like you got to be honest with yourself with what you're most passionate about. You could affirm my success is safe, aligned, and inevitable. And I think that's important because ironically, like I said, some Scorpios do have a fear of failure. They're often afraid of leaving jobs that give them the security, even though they'd be happier elsewhere. And really, they need to work on that belief before they actually leave the job. So it's not a matter of, no, feel the fear and do it anyway. No, what really you want to do is cultivate that belief that there's plenty of other opportunities that are better for you and better aligned with your authentic self. And therefore, things are going to be great. So Sagittarius, this new moon is hitting your 9th house. So for you, this is actually aligned with your sign, the 9th house. So it's all about expansion and growth and going beyond your stretch. It's about leaps of faith. The 9th house has to do with publishing, broadcasting. It's entrepreneurship. It's about sharing yourself with the world, sharing your energy with the entire world, and expanding and growing, going beyond your stretch. So your limiting belief may be, if I expand too far, I'll lose what I have. Or I don't know, this is unfamiliar. You got to go for it, right? You got to allow yourself to just go for it, right? An empowering belief that might serve you is the universe expands as I do. So sometimes when we're feeling overwhelmed, like, oh, geez, I have to do this and I have to do that, and this is happening and that's happening, we're not keeping up with our expansion, meaning everything is expanding around us, but we're not keeping up with it. That's why you want to allow yourself to align body, mind, and spirit with expansion. You want to see yourself growing along with the scope, right? Like if a project gets bigger, right? Or ideally you're expanding and you're growing, the project has a chance to really expand and grow and really go far. You want to make sure that you're aligned with that and that you're not staying in place, that you're growing along with the universe, that you're growing along with your ideals and your aspirations. And you got to make sure, is your body aligned with it? Meaning, do you feel physically as if you're in that new reality in which you're expanding? Is your mind aligned with it? Do you feel like it's real to you? And does it feel okay and safe in your brain? And then spiritually, do you feel like this is aligned and it's for the good of all? One thing that you may want to say when you're doing anything intentional is for the good of all and harm to none, right? So you want to make sure that you're feeling that this is for the good of all and there's not going to be any harm for anyone. Only good can come from this. You may want to affirm, my dreams stretch the sky and the ground rises to meet them. So you want to feel like you're growing and the universe is growing and that it's all okay, that you're not going to get ahead of your skis, right? You want to just make sure your body and your mind and your spirit are aligned with where you want to go. That's why visualizing it already having happened is going to acclimate your energy to that vibration of your end goal. So you want to always start at the end. You want to see what's your end goal? Where do you want to wind up? And then again, with your body, your mind, and your spirit, can you see yourself doing it? Can you feel physically you in that position? Can you think of yourself in that position? And can you feel how it is spiritually aligned with your highest good and the highest good for all? So Capricorn, this new moon in Leo is hitting your 8th house. It's going to be quite the intense transit for you, Capricorn. The 8th house has to do with boundaries, right? It's about where you say no or even where you say yes. It has to do with other people's resources. So it's often where we give up control, where we have to let go. Intimacy is an aspect of the 8th house. And when you're intimate with somebody, obviously there's a letting go. There's a sharing of your vulnerabilities. There's an openness that's required, right? And also when you're going into business with somebody or you are connecting with somebody and sharing with them, there's a vulnerability there. There's a letting go that needs to happen, right? So you might believe, Capricorn, and you certainly may believe this, if I let go, I'll lose control. Well, yeah, you will. But that's key, right? Because you're not really losing control. You're surrendering to the control that's already built in. Meaning, if you've done the work, if you've visualized the way you want things to go, if you've allowed yourself to align with how you want things to go and you visualized it, you've practiced the vibration, etc., when you're letting go and you're giving up control, you're giving up control to what you already set in motion. Nobody is thinking about your life and all the different paths or one path that it's going to take. I mean, maybe somebody is, but unlikely, right? So we have no structure except the structure that your mind has created. I always say, like, nobody cares. Like, nobody cares. And it should be refreshing. It should be refreshing to think, in a manner of speaking, nobody really gives a damn about you. Nobody cares. Everybody's really concerned with themselves, right? And you might fit into that picture somehow, right? But nobody really cares. Nobody cares about your trajectory as much as you do. So if you focus on the trajectory that you want and you make that dominant, when you're giving up control, you're surrendering to the structure that you created. Because that's what you've pre-paved, right? That's why you don't want to think about negative things, right? You want to surrender to the visualization. You want to let go and believe, if you practiced it enough, that what you want to have happen is going to have happen or something better, right? An empowering belief may be letting go opens the door to true power. Because at the end of the day, it's not you that has the power. You're channeling that power from the universe. So if you let go, you're just going to allow yourself to be more powerful because the energy is going to be flowed through you more easily. You're going to be more open to forces that are way, way, way more powerful than you. And what's ironic is all along you've been channeling the energy of the universe for your power. So letting go of control is only going to make you more powerful. You might want to affirm, I release what no longer serves me and rise from the ashes. So when you're dealing with an 8th house transit, Capricorn, I'll be frank with you, something is most likely ending. Something is leaving your life. It doesn't have to be a good thing that's leaving. It could be a limiting belief. It could be a situation, a circumstance. It also could be a person, place, or thing, right? But by letting go, you're going to allow yourself to free yourself up for what is really meant for you. So Aquarius, you have this Leo new moon in your 7th house of partnerships. And partnerships are really interesting for Aquarians because Aquarians are very freedom loving. They're traditionally ruled by Saturn, but contemporarily they're ruled by Uranus, which is all about rebellion and freedom. You know, you zig, Aquarians zag, right? Aquarians are strange. Even Uranus in the sky is off at this angle, right? So Aquarians are weird. They're very weird. They're very strange, eccentric, they're often called. But really, at the end of the day, they're very much addicted to their autonomy. Oh, see? Lone wolf. That's very Aquarius, right? And Aquarians, because they're so freedom obsessed, they might believe that a partnership limits their freedom. Well, okay. I mean, I guess anything could limit your freedom. Like as soon as you make one choice, if I decide to have a tuna sub as opposed to a chicken sub, well, I've lost my freedom for having chicken, right? Now I'm having tuna. So everything comes with some kind of sacrifice, right? But you might want to start believing that the right partnership or partnerships actually expand your freedom. Maybe you'll be more inspired and confident about doing new things that give you more freedom if you are in that relationship, right? So your freedom actually can be expanded by your partnerships. You might want to affirm, I attract relationships that support my authenticity. Aquarius can also be a people pleaser like Libra. So the reason why some Aquarians might actually have trouble in relationships is because it's not like they're being their authentic self. They're, I don't want to say performing, but Aquarians are very smart and they know how to hit the right notes to be liked. They know people. So they know how to align their actions and behaviors with what is good for the other person. Now, that can be absolutely exhausting. And that might be why Aquarians are often addicted to their autonomy, because they don't want to have to put on airs and graces, right? They don't want to have to perform. But if you're being your authentic self, number one, you're really honoring not just yourself, but your partner. And it shouldn't be as exhausting for you, right? And the right relationships, remember, the right relationships are going to support your authenticity. You don't want to be with somebody who doesn't want you to be you, right? So the more you can just be you, you're going to attract those right partnerships and they're going to honor you, right? And not every partnership is going to limit your freedom, right? So just bear that in mind. And last but never least, my fishies. My fishies. So Pisces, this new moon in Leo hit your 6th house, or it's hitting your 6th house. And the 6th house has to do with your nuts and bolts, your day-to-day operations. It's what you do to keep your life running like a well-oiled machine. Your diet, your exercise, your habits, your work, what you do for work. Now, you may have a limiting belief, I can't stay consistent. Maybe it's in terms of diet or exercise or getting your projects complete on time. I always fall behind. Well, you don't want to think that that is a permanent thing for you, right? You can change that. An empowering belief may be, I create rhythms that support my joy. And that's really what the 6th house is. You want your life to not just run like a well-oiled machine, but you want to have sort of a rhythm to it, right? And you got to trust your own rhythms as well. I think especially Pisces, but all of us really do. We're not always going to be feeling as if we can put in 110%. Ideally, you're going to have a certain amount of flexibility in your schedule so that if you can't put in 110%, well, you don't do what you're supposed to do, right? You allow yourself that flexibility, i.e., handling that project when you are feeling better and more inspired and stronger, right? Or going to the gym when you have gotten more rest, right? So honor your rhythms and create new rhythms that support your joy. I would also say, like, it's important to follow your excitement as best as you can. Like if you have an opportunity, I can either go to the gym or I can watch a TV show. Well, there might be times in which you really do want to watch that TV show instead, right? So the key is to start getting excited by what it is that you're supposed to be doing, right? You want to get excited about those things that you know you need to do. And if you're not excited about them, if it's impossible for you to get excited about exercising or eating clean or whatever, you got to make some kind of adjustment. You got to make it align with your authenticity, right? Because why would you be living your day-to-day lifestyle, sixth house, unless it was joyful? So whatever it is that you wind up doing, whatever new habits you want to implement in your life, don't do them just for the end goal. Do them because they're joyful, because a joyful journey is going to give you a great, joyful end result, right? You may want to affirm, my daily choices align with my purpose. So every single day you're making these decisions. I'm going to go here. I'm going to do this. And again, you want to think about, what are you here for? Your purpose is joy. And you want to make sure that no matter what it is that you feel like you have to do, that it's something that you're joyfully doing, right? That's why even if you're in a job that you don't like, there's something fun about that job that you can do, right? I think it was a few weeks ago, we did a presentation. We spoke about Alan Watts, and he was speaking about how he was at 59th Street, Columbus Circle in New York City. And he went to get his shoes shined, right? His shoes shined. And the guy who was shining his shoes was like whistling, and he was having a ball. He was really enjoying it. And Alan Watts saw this. He's like, this guy's shining shoes, but he's singing, he's dancing, he's really making the most of it. So no matter what it is that you have to do, there is joy that you can bring to your endeavor. Ideally, you'll find yourself doing those things that bring you joy anyway, but no matter what you need to do, you can do it with joy. So I hope this was helpful for everybody tonight. I'm glad we got to do this actually on the Leo new moon. Finally, I want to just give you that 5 steps that you can do to change your beliefs. Find the belief, what it is. If you're feeling shitty about something, well, ask yourself, well, why do I feel this way? I must believe something that feels bad, right? So find out what limiting belief you have. Question it. Is it true? Is it absolutely patently true? Or is it something that somebody told you? Or is it something you inherited? 3, find a new belief. Replace it. Think of it as moving furniture. You're taking out that couch and putting in this more beautiful couch, right? Then you got to feel it. Remember, the new moon is in Leo. I need drama. Sell it. Show it. Live it. Imbue it, right? Emotion activates the frequency. So the more dramatic and the higher emotions that you are feeling, or the more heightened your emotions that you are feeling, the easier it's going to be for you to manifest. And then you want to live it. Align with action. So if you're visualizing these things, if you're bringing yourself to that emotional state, you're going to get impulses. I should do this. I should do that. I think I might do this. I might do that, right? Because then you're going to be taking inspired action, and then you're going to achieve your desired ends. Thank you all for watching. So many cool people in the chart. I have Casimar and Marlo and Sunflowers. Thanks all so much for joining me live and for catching the replay if you're catching this. And I will see you, if you're catching this live, on Friday at 1 p.m. Eastern for This Week Astrology. And of course, next week, we'll be talking about the next lunation. Oh my goodness. That will be the full moon in Aquarius that we'll be talking about next week, which will actually be happening in 2 weeks. So I will see you then. Enjoy the rest of your night, everybody, and take good care. Bye-bye.